This summer, the world's greatest athletes are competing on the global stage in front of an audience of billions. They've been training their whole lives for this moment, and now you get the chance to hear their stories up close and personal. This is Nike On Air, a series about elite athletes brought to you by Nike. You'll hear from the world's fastest woman, Tatiana McFadden, the breakout breaking star, Sunny Choi, basketball legend Dawn Staley, and more. Listen to Nike On Air starting July 7th, only on the Womanica podcast feed. Hello. From Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan, and this is Womanica. This month, we're celebrating women who performed physical and mental feats in sports. They overcame societal barriers, personal struggles, and fierce competition to pursue dreams of glory. We're talking about athletes. Today's Womanican is a 3-time gold medal Olympian and a world record setter. She was the first person to win gold for the 100-meter event in consecutive Olympic Games. But her story has been overlooked for decades. Let's talk about Wyomia Tyus. Wyomia was born in 1945 in Griffin, Georgia, about 40 miles south of Atlanta. Her father was a sharecropper on a dairy farm, and her mother worked in the dry cleaning business. The farm Wyomia grew up on was in the middle of the Jim Crow South, and her parents made sure to protect the family from racist backlash, while also instilling ideas of gender and racial equality within their household. On their weekly walks around the farm, Wyomia's father would encourage her to move through society with pride, freedom, and hope as a young black girl. Wyomia developed into a competitive, energetic tomboy. Dolls weren't so much her thing, but her ears would perk up when she heard kids playing outside. She would run out of the house to go join them and played all kinds of sports. In her teen years, things quickly changed for Wyomia. Her house was destroyed in a fire, and a year later, when she was just 15 years old, her father died. The trauma and shock left Wyomia, a once very extroverted and playful kid, communicating, if at all, with one-syllable answers. She'd entered a deep state of depression. Things didn't start getting better until she met Coach Temple in the early 1960s. He led the women's track team at Tennessee State University, known as the Tiger Bells. Tennessee State is a historically black university, and Coach Temple was similar to Wyomia's father in his progressive ideas of equality. He empowered black women athletes to reach their full potential and cheered them on as they competed in a society that tried to oppress them. By the time Wyomia joined the team, Coach Temple had already sent many of the Tiger Bells to the highest level of competition, the Olympic Games. And the Tiger Bells paved the way for America's domination in the track and field division. In 1964, 19-year-old Wyomia made her Olympic debut. She arrived at the Tokyo Games ready to compete for the world title in the 100-meter dash, the Olympics' shortest sprinting competition. The event she'd spent years training for would be over in seconds. Wyomia made it to the semifinals. At the sound of the pistol, she flung her right leg forward and was off to the races. She reached the finish line in 11.2 seconds, tying the world record set by former Olympian and Tiger Bell Wilma Rudolph in 1961. Before the finals, Coach Temple approached Wyomia and told her, "I just don't want you to get a big head. Just go out there and do your best. You might be able to win a medal." Wyomia did just that. She won the gold medal. Her win came as a surprise to many. She wasn't the runner most people had bet on. That was her teammate and best friend, Edith McGuire. But in the Olympic finals, Wyomia beat Edith for the very first time. 4 years later, Wyomia returned to the Games, this time in Mexico City.
The United States leads the Olympics in medal awards and is just about supreme in the sprint races, thanks to men.
1968 was a controversial year in the history of the Olympics. The event was happening parallel to a lot of global unrest. Martin Luther King Jr. had been assassinated earlier that year. There were growing riots and protests of the Vietnam War. South Africa had been banned from participating in the Games for their apartheid policies. And about 300 Mexican students were massacred for protesting against the government just 10 days before the opening ceremony. Wyomia joined the Olympic Project for Human Rights, an organization that supported the fight to end discrimination against Black people globally. especially in South Africa and the United States. She also decided to show her solidarity while she ran. Instead of wearing the white shorts that came with her uniform, she would wear a pair of black shorts as she defended her title in the 100-meter race. October 15th, the day of the finals, arrived. The risks felt higher. Two of her competitors had world record times of 11.1 seconds, 1/10 of a second faster than Wyomi's 1964 finish. Still, she was confident that the medal was hers. While warming up, Wyomi even broke into a dance called Tighten Up, named for a popular song at the time. Soon, the audience in the first few rows joined her and started playing the bongos. Wyomi was ready. The pistol fired and 8 runners were off. 11.08 seconds later, Wyomi reached the finish line, securing first place and breaking a world record. She became the first athlete to win back-to-back gold medals in the Olympic Games for the 100-meter sprint, an achievement no other track star would match for 2 decades. The next day, Wyomi's groundbreaking feat and silent protest was overshadowed. American track athletes Tommy Smith and John Carlos would win the gold and bronze medals in the men's 200 meters. They protested on the podium with their raised fists in the Black Power salute as the U.S. national anthem played. After the Games, Wyomi moved to Los Angeles. She went on to be a founding member of the Women's Sports Foundation, and she continued working as a coach and teacher. In 1999, the Wyomia Tyus Olympic Park opened in her hometown of Griffin, Georgia. At the age of 73, Wyomi co-authored her memoir, Tiger Bell, The Wyomia Tyus Story. She continues to live in California today. All month, we're talking about athletes. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Liz Kaplan, my favorite sister and co-creator. As always, we'll be taking a break for the weekend. Talk to you on Monday. This summer, the world's greatest athletes are competing on the global stage in front of an audience of billions. They've been training their whole lives for this moment, and now you get the chance to hear their stories up close and personal. This is Nike On Air, a series about elite athletes brought to you by Nike. You'll hear from the world's fastest woman, Tatiana McFadden, the breakout breaking star, Sunny Choi, basketball legend Dawn Staley, and more. Listen to Nike On Air starting July 7th, only on the Womanica podcast feed.
In 2009, Mitrice Richardson was released from the Malibu Lost Hills Sheriff's Station, and she never made it home. Nearly a year later, Mitrice's remains were found in a canyon 6 miles from the station. Her death is Malibu's greatest unsolved mystery. I'm Dana Goodyear. In Lost Hills, Dark Canyon, what happened to Mitrice Richardson? Listen on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
I'm Jordan Gonsalves, and I'm a journalist. Join me on my new podcast, But We Loved, where queer elders recount the amazing history they've lived through.
In the middle of Wall Street, they stopped traffic. They were doing a die-in.
And in the process, share little gems of wisdom for the next generation.
The key is to understanding yourself, learning to love and embrace yourself.
You can listen to But We Loved on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Katie Lowe's.
And I'm Guillermo Diaz.
And we're the hosts of Unpacking the Toolbox, the Scandal Rewatch podcast where we're talking about all the best moments of the show.
Mesmerizing.
But also, we get to hang out with all of our old Scandal friends like Bellamy Young, Scott Foley, Tony Goldwyn, Debbie Allen, Kerry Washington.
Well, suit up, gladiators. Grab your big old glass of wine and prepare yourselves for even more behind-the-scenes stories with Unpacking the Toolbox.
Listen to Unpacking the Toolbox on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts,
or wherever you get your podcasts.